It's an ambush.
Oh my God, it's an ambush!
It's an ambush!
Of course!
I'm back in the saddle again, out where a friend is a friend, where the longhorn cattle feed on the lonely gypsum weed. Back in the saddle again, riding the range once more, totin' my old 44, where you sleep out every night and the only law is right. Back in the saddle again. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Saturday night. Yes, it's been quite the horrible, terrible, no good, very bad last 3 or 4 days. The forces of nature have, at least in part, doxed me. I'll get to that momentarily, because why not at this point? Kiro Soldier, good evening. Alice Morgan, good evening. Scientology, good evening. Long time no speak thy name, I should say. Hope you're doing well. K-Shul, good evening. Angelverse, hello. The Best Remy, hello. John Trioxin, hello. Derek LaRue, holy cats. Derek LaRue, good to see you. Thank you so much, as always, for your generosity and support. I very much appreciate it. I hope you're having a good Saturday and hope you enjoy whatever this show ends up being, because I didn't really have a plan for it. But thank you so much. Stephtus Wolf. Oh, wait, Mike R. Good evening. Then Stephtus Wolf. Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. So the forces of nature have unfortunately doxed me to an extent. It's true. After 8 years, powers beyond my control have effectively given a signal as to part of my location. I know. It's probably difficult for you to accept, but I do live in a place. On the moon! Yeah, no, I was on the dark side of the moon. That's what happened. Yeah, there was a little bit of a dust up, and I lost the signal for a little while. Those of you that do the detective work otherwise may have different conclusions, but there you go. I know. It was a long time coming. I know. But here we go. Ebony Williams, good evening. Johnny Blaze, good evening. Hope you're all doing good. But yeah, no, it was a terrible last couple of days. I can tell you what. It was no power, so no heat, no light, no refrigeration, no hot water, no internet, and nowhere to go because there was nowhere else around that had power either. So it was kind of no man's land. There's a movie, if you can believe it, from the 90s. I think it was 96, 97, something like that, called The Trigger Effect. Kyle MacLachlan, Elizabeth Shue, back in the good old days. And the main plot point was suddenly the power goes out everywhere. And there's no real explanation for it, but then you just have, everybody acting like ants on an ant farm and seeing how long humanity can last under such circumstances. It got kind of close there in a couple spots. Because in addition to there being no electricity, there was no gasoline to be pumped. And I saw a few things that got close to some things as a result of that little eventuality. Kiro Soldier, thank you so much. If the weather was going to be as bad as it was, you should have contacted Storm. She'd at least powered your house and internet. Yeah, well, Storm is part of the MCU now. I don't think Storm has any room for me. But either way, thank you so much, Hero Soldier. But yeah, so it was a lousy couple of nights. The only plus side was I had a fully charged Kindle. And on my Kindle, I had loaded every Conan the Barbarian story ever written. At least by its original author, Robert E. Howard. And I'd always wanted to get back to reading those. And boy howdy, with all that extra free time, I got through at least 3/4 of the collection. And I feel so much more enriched as a result. But yes, in the latter 24 hours, Sister Scribe helped me out quite a bit. Because it came down to a point where, well, either I catch up on the 3 days of work that I've missed, or it's just going to get worse come Monday and going into Thanksgiving. And so I spent most of today over at Sister Scribes, making use of her internet and her electricity and so on. And also, she made these very yummy pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. Good stuff. Human Con, good evening. Phil Thomas, good evening to you. The Alexander, good evening. Zan Wild. Zan Wild. I sound like some old radio show host. Zan Wild. Again, another name I don't think I've said in quite a while. Good to see you, Zan Wild. Anyway, so yeah, it's and the entire time, of course, as addict as I've become, I was jonesing to get back on to do something, because it's just one of those things where, I guess it's kind of sort of a regretful reality. I've become so acclimated to being connected to people and events and things nonstop every day, whether it's work or news or entertainment or all my online friends and so on, that to have it all just gone and unrecoverable for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. It's just, I was not doing well. Now, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe I need to be weaned off of it a little bit and get some perspective. But either way, now that I'm powered and have some heat and light again in my own home, I needed to vent. And what better way to vent than with you all on a Saturday night, talking about some DEI. Some J-random DEI stuff. Because, hey, why not? It's a free country for a little while at least. So I'm here. We got Blue Sky now. You guys got Blue Sky? I got Blue Sky. Undoomed's on Blue Sky. I gotta follow him on Blue Sky. It's a total joke. I'm waiting to see how long it takes for them to kick me off for posting stuff about DEI and criticisms of Kamala Harris or whatever else. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to it either way. Let's see. A couple more hellos here, and then we'll get into whatever the heck this thing is. And this was just posted in the last week, so this is something, it's not going away. Anybody who thought that DEI was going to go by the wayside because Trump got elected, I'm telling you now, there's going to be the zealots that are going to double down and triple down. It's not going anywhere. It might be wounded, but it ain't gone. I'm just telling you. Assassin of the Gray, good evening. I linked the show across the Discord, Scribe. Thank you. Now gets to the mayhem with Dogcat Fox from Moonbase 001. Oh, man. Did I hear Dogcat Fox invoked? I haven't heard Dogcat Fox in 4 days now.
Wowie, wow, wow.
Oh, there's a Weebo Jones, Dogcat Fox. But thank you, Assassin, for spreading the word, as it were. Corey Suzuki, good evening. Hope you're doing good tonight. And did I already say it had Attack Alpaca? Attack Alpaca. And Human Con, did I? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, but we're back. There's going to be a Sunday stream tomorrow, power gods willing, etc. But I'll prep that tomorrow morning because, boy, I've had a day today. I had to keep it short, so to speak, I had to, in 1 day's time, prep and process 3 full days worth of work in order to have all of that ready by Monday morning to catch up for lost time. Thankfully, we have very understanding clients, and of course, it was a situation that was completely out of my hands and unavoidable, but I try to do my best to meet my obligations and my responsibilities. And with that, let's find out about DEI in public procurement? Change agents. Remember Agents of Change? Remember that TED Excellence I did a long time ago? Man, a service of civic initiatives. All right, well, we'll see where this takes us. I have no idea, guys. There's no plan for this. I didn't look into this any deeper than it's DEI and something dealing with the public. It was posted in the last week. We'll give it a half an hour and see what it has to say. And I appreciate you all you guys taking the time to hang out with me for a little bit and chit-chat. I really need it. Boy, oh boy. I tell you what. I might be a hermit in a lot of ways. I don't actually want to be a hermit. That all being said, hope you guys can hear this. Let me know if it's too quiet. If so, I'll turn the music down, and we'll see what these people have to say. This is just a podcast. There's no visual elements, so for those of you at home, you can just listen along or driving along, and you won't be missing much.
Hi, it's Dustin Lanier. Thanks for listening.
Hi, Dustin Lanier. You're welcome for listening, or for me hearing.
Please find me on LinkedIn for original public sector operations content every week.
What does that sound exciting? Public sector operations content every week. Oh, well, hey, credit to him. If he's put on his own show, I'm sure there's a niche audience for this. I might just be one of them now.
Please reach out to me if I and my team of procurement professionals at Civic Initiatives can help you be a public procurement change agent.
I would, you know what? I have no idea what a public procurement change agent is, but I am more than curious to find out. And if anybody in the chat who knows these things better than I do, and I assume there might be someone who does, if you can tell me more, either in the comments or in the chat, what a public procurement change agent really is, as contrasting with whatever we hear here, I'd love to know it. Okay.
Morning, everybody. Today
Good morning.
we're going to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and public procurement. And so how do we make these two programs aware of each other?
Oh, wait. Somebody's messaging me with this. What's this? Sister Scribe is telling me Sister Scribe dropped me off from me camping out at her place just a few minutes ago, just before I started. So she's letting me know she got home safe. And I will tell her, yay! Because yay is what I say when something is good. And I'm in a much better mood now than I have in the last, whatever it is, 72 hours or something.
And help with the mutual success of both programs without breaking other things in the mission.
I can't wait to find out what the mission is, but my mission is to say hello to Ghost 101. Good evening. Bridget. Good evening. And Ghost 101, I have no idea what the hell that is. I just got here. Yeah, I don't know either. It's going to be a learning experience for all of us. Daryl Odell, good evening. Yeah, so what is public procurement and what does diversity, equity, and inclusion have to say about it?
That each of them may have individually. So I think it's an interesting topic and certainly very current for people in terms of building and executing these programs. We're helping a large state customer with this exact planning sequence. So I appreciate people being able to come on to discuss it in a panel. There's also a survey that is out right now.
Would you like to take a survey? You see, and again, being completely ignorant of this stuff, I'm assuming that public procurement has something to do with, well, public money, as in taxpayer money. I could be mistaken, and I'm happy to be corrected. But if that is the case, and DEI is finding its way into public procurement, well, obviously I'm curious about that. Also, I'm curious about Jim Healis. Let's see. How can I describe Jim Healis? Comic book creator, health expert, and also, at one time, co-host of TED Excellence. Yes, Jim Healis. Good evening.
That is through December 2nd. I'll probably extend that just because realistically with Thanksgiving coming up, people may not see it until next week. Okay. So that'll be part of our discussion as well.
I can't wait.
So we have several people who are available to talk about this topic. Jamie, I always start with you since you help us with some good morning energy. So what do you...
Oh, Jamie's got the morning energy. Oh boy, guys. Let's take in Jamie's morning energy.
You guys doing to try to connect your DEI and your public procurement programs, and what are you dealing with today, and where are you trying to focus?
Thanks, Dustin. DEI is really a very hot topic in the procurement community.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad that DEI is a hot topic now in 2024. Chicago Mike, good evening to you. Hope you're doing good.
Like, the question is why? Why is it such a hot topic? We've gone along for all of these years, and I think there's a couple of reasons. The DEI that we're looking at from a procurement perspective, it widens the pool of potential suppliers.
Ah, suppliers. Why does it widen the pool of potential suppliers? What was narrowing the focus of potential suppliers previously that DEI opens up, given the fact that DEI is actually more constrictive a concept than a welcoming one?
Promotes competition.
It promotes competition. Really? You mean by sectioning off people on the basis of their demographic and rejecting some as unwanted versus others? maybe I'm jumping ahead.
And then if you think about the sourcing options that we continue to struggle with on a daily basis, this helps us build more resilient and agile supply chains.
Really? Okay, well, I'm all ears. How?
And again, from whether you're state, you're local, you're federal, it doesn't matter. A diverse supplier, right, is one that, I'm going to say a general definition, is at least 51% owned and operated by an individual or a group that is traditionally underrepresented or underserved.
Okay. So the supplier has to be at least 51% owned by very particular demographics. Would you like to get more specific about these quote-unquote groups?
That could be minority owned.
Could be minority owned. So race, I'm assuming you mean?
Women owned.
Women owned. Okay, so gender.
Small businesses.
Yeah.
It could be LGBTQ.
Orientation. Okay. Is that a question you're going to be asking your supply CEOs? It's like, I'd love to do business with you, but first, can you tell me who you like to sleep with?
Veterans, proprietors.
Veterans! Oh, boy, it's like ERGs. They always mention veterans near the tail end. Everything else ahead of time. Oh, yeah, your skin color, your gender, your orientation. Your veterans. Yeah, we might pay some lip service to a demographic that actually has gained some merit in society through action and not simply through an effective aesthetic. No. But they're fourth on the list, after all this other things.
With disabilities, there's a whole host of ways to think about this.
Okay, so you would exclude anyone white, anyone female, anyone straight. Anyone male, pardon me. White, male, and straight, less likely to do business with. And yet, this philosophy is meant to widen the pool. WIDEN, for those of you who might misunderstand my pronunciation. Widen the pool and promote competition. Okay.
And so specifically, Dustin, getting back to your question around the state of Maine, we're off in the top northeast corner of the state.
The state of Maine is the top northeast corner of the country.
Kind of do our own thing up here. We're not fortunate enough to be in the middle of the country where we can look at 10 different states around us and their suppliers. So it's even more critical that we broaden our supplier base.
By winnowing down who you're going to select on the basis of non-determinative elements of their character? I know this is a weird thing. If I was having to choose between suppliers of whatever the heck it is, I'd probably take a look at the track record of their quality of service, first and foremost, right? Regardless, I know it's an odd idea, regardless of the appearance of the people running it, how about looking at the track record of the company? I know. It is difficult not to take someone running a business and think of them as a hood ornament, but it might be a better idea.
And that we are looking at kind of a 2 to 3 year timeline to accomplish really a diverse program. Not
a 2 to 3 year timeline to accomplish a timeline. Please tell me you have some percentage goals in mind.
No pun intended, of course.
Wait. Well, I missed the pun. Let's go back a second or three. What was the pun?
We are looking at kind of a 2 to 3 year timeline to accomplish really a diverse program. No pun intended, of course.
I don't know why you'd say no pun intended, of course. I would take you at your word, given the preamble.
So we are looking to bring some folks on to help us build our DEI program. We've got to first look at the data, figure out, what's out there in the marketplace.
What's out there in the marketplace? like objects
in the state of Maine specifically, and then we can look to other regions to support that supply chain.
Okay.
What is it that we're trying to accomplish?
What is it you're trying to accomplish? I mean, I would love to have some more details on that.
Where's the goalpost going to be? Do we need to reset the goalpost? Oh. And ultimately, there is a considerable amount of education that will be required, both with internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. Oh. And then what if you bring in folks that maybe don't have even English as their first language?
Sure, because... Sure.
So that's just one of the barriers to think about, is how do we communicate with folks that talk different languages?
Talk different languages? You mean speak different languages? Okay, whatever. Golly, I don't know. Well, either you have somebody on your team who speaks that language, or they have someone on their team who speaks your language. Otherwise, they're not going to be very competitive in the market that they're advertising or working within. I mean, who are you intending to communicate with? Unless everybody's just got like company paid for Duolingo accounts or something.
And read different languages.
Oh.
And then you're trying to introduce them to a government process. All things that are challenges, but not such that we can't overcome them.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you have someone who runs a procurement or supply chain company who does business with governments as a matter of their business, regardless of their language barrier, I would hope they'd understand the concept of abiding by government regulations ahead of time? Or is it your job to walk them through the particulars of the business they've chosen to go in? I'm confused. Also, there's a Kiever Dam. Sorry I'm late. I didn't know you were streaming. I left the house. Well, it's okay. I didn't tell anybody I was streaming. I just kind of popped in. And also, you don't have to apologize for anything. You're always exactly on time. By the way, thank you, Kiever Dam, for providing, as always, the links to the GoFundMes for our friends AJ, Ron Harushan, Angela Arriaga, and Kristen at the top of the chat box. If you guys can take a look at those and click on them. If you can donate, please do so. But even if you can't share those out on social media, that would also be appreciated. So thank you for that ahead of time, and thank you, Kiever Dam, for providing that. Also, Plaid and Ammo, good evening. Who else is here that I didn't see previously as I was so focused on this podcast? Shadowclaw, good evening to you. And, Payar D. Bayar. Whoops. I clicked too quickly. Payar D. Bayar, good evening. Kelly Hans, good evening. Hope you're doing well. But let's see. Oh, Bridget says something here. Don't we have a good relationship with Japanese and Aerospace agencies? I'd imagine those are good templates. I don't know. I don't know what a good template is for our speaker here. You know, so far she's mentioned gender, race, disability, orientation, veteran status. I'll give credit for that. Credit. And also speaking a different language. And setting aside veteran status, because that always seems like such tokenism to even mention amongst all the other things that have nothing to do with the demonstration of someone's merit or self-sacrifice. Everything has absolutely nothing to say about the quality of the service being provided by any of these suppliers. So...
Yeah, there's a million topics we could go into. But we do have a couple of folks who joined us at 7 a.m. with a morning coffee on the West Coast.
7 a.m.? I'm 3 hours into my workday by then.
Which was nice of them. So I'll go to Justin and then Victor. Give us some context as far as, I mean, Justin, since you're higher ed, is the question any different in a higher ed construct than in a state construct, and what are you trying to do to connect these programs?
Higher ed and DEI? What a concept!
I think I think for our system, the context is very similar to the state of California because...
Oh, the state of California. The one state, or at least the most notable state, that outlawed affirmative action in colleges and universities back in 1996. Now, it's not quite DEI, but it's sort of like, it's effectively DEI in a way. Okay, so what's California got to say?
Our 10 campuses and our medical centers span all the way from San Diego, practically in the south, to Davis, up in the north. So our campuses do cover the state of California's economy. Yeah. I think there's 2 or 3 reasons that in California and right now, DEI became very important to our supply chain organization.
I can't wait to hear them. I'm also having to pause because of YouTube. But okay, in California specifically, why did DEI become important? I wait with bated breath.
First is coming out of the pandemic, we really saw 2 things. We saw first the value of diversity in our supply chain.
Why? Coming out of the pandemic. Okay. And by diversity, you mean the appearance of the business owner, unless you're going to say something different. But okay, coming out of the pandemic, you saw the benefit of diversity in the supply chain. How?
For a lot of years, I think companies and big organizations had really focused and said, well, how do we concentrate our supply chain? How do we make it as efficient and just in time as possible? And then when we encountered during the pandemic a situation where certain items became more difficult to get or in short supply.
Like, toilet paper, let's say, or hand sanitizer. Yes.
What we really found out was a diverse supply chain is a resilient supply chain that. Okay,
again, granted that we're operating under the same definition of quote unquote diverse as the first speaker. Why? Why is a diverse supply chain a quote unquote resilient supply chain?
Protects operations and makes things available for everybody.
So a non-diverse supply chain would just not make things available to everybody? What are you implying here?
At the same time, we learned that that the pandemic impacted our small and diverse businesses in California much more so than our large suppliers.
Okay. How?
And so, college towns are, our campuses want to be seen as integral members of their community. And so focusing on doing business with our community and being part of our community as a way to help restore it coming out of the pandemic is important.
Okay, so you were giving favoritism to zip code. I've heard that's racist.
So those are, I think, the 2 things that caused us last year to introduce a program called Small Business First.
Small Business First? Okay. So far you've said that diverse suppliers made a resilient supply chain because diverse suppliers were willing to sell to everyone. Whereas I guess non-diverse suppliers were more picky in who they sold their products to. I guess. I mean, I don't quite understand what the implication could be otherwise. And then the second part was they did business locally. Okay.
Which we have had over the last couple of years, the goal system-wide of doing 25% of our business with small and diverse suppliers.
Oh, a percentage. I was waiting. I was so waiting. Okay, so you have a percentile goal of who you will work with based on the owner's appearance and or mattress athletic habits. In part. Okay.
But what we tried to do was create a policy ramp that made it easier for us to do business with these types of suppliers.
Make it easier to do business with these types of suppliers. What was holding you back before?
And so for us, what that means is that normally our campuses and the university are required to compete most purchases over $100,000. What we did was we created a streamlined authority where if you were working with small and diverse suppliers, you can get quotes from two qualified bidders and award to a small business all the way.
So you added an extra layer of decision making based on the demographic fit of the owner of another business as a leg up in the bidding process. Is that how I got that? Let me back up just a smidge just to make sure let's hear that one more time, shall we?
Created a streamlined authority where if you are working with small and diverse suppliers, you can get quotes from two qualified bidders and award to a small business all the way up to $250,000.
Oh, okay. Well, admittedly, I am no financial genius or something, but just the, insertion of assessing a business's viability on the basis of the look of the owner in a bidding process seems, let's just say, shaky ground to me, maybe a little bit.
And what we hope that does is it provides opportunity for more suppliers to get involved in our supply chain.
Based on what the appearance of the ownership is, yeah.
And really help us to be a stronger part of our community.
Yeah, but is that competing on the basis of quality of service and bidding price, or is that allowing people a leg up because of what they look like? And I'm asking sincerely because I don't understand the mechanisms of this or how this makes a whole lot of sense on a fairness level in a bidding process. But, wherever there is DEI, certainly there is something sneaky going on.
So, Victor, you're up in Washington and you work with Spokane. And so how is it different or the same for political subdivision, and what kind of things are you guys doing to try to connect these two programs?
Political subdivision? What do you do, Victor?
Sure, just a couple clarifications. Spokane, for those that aren't around this region.
Oh, I just corrected your pronunciation, Outlander.
Even though it's spelled with a Kane,
yeah.
You're just showing your lack of diversity in understanding geographical locations.
Oh, damn! You got served, son! Oh, my gosh. Spokane? No, Philistine, it's Spokane.
And their names. Joke.
Let's see, where
What, are you joking, though? Should we have a land acknowledgement now to atone for our sins?
Where's the other place that's like that? There's another place.
Any place in Alaska.
No, there's a
DuBois,
place where if you
Pennsylvania.
pronounce the A wrong, that your tag is being ignorant. I'll have to think about that one. Okay.
Yeah, I had that experience once. Well, not about a place name so much. I think I've told this story before. I was visiting Louisiana, specifically New Orleans. And I was down there visiting a couple of friends, and they had gone into some shop or something, and I was waiting outside. And this gentleman comes up to me and asks me for the time. This is back before everybody carried a cell phone on them all the time, or at least this guy didn't. And I happen to have a watch, obviously, so I tell him the time. And he looks at me really funny for a second and says, "You're not from around here, are you?" And because people don't pronounce 5 like that down here, it's something to that effect. And so, yeah, sometimes the way you pronounce a particular word will give somebody a hint that you're not a local or something. But yeah, so I can understand that. But yeah, there are some complicated names out there, like in Texas. If I told you there's a county in Texas spelled Bexar, how would you presume that county is pronounced? Do you think it's like Bexar? No, it's just called Bear. I know, it's weird, but it's true.
Okay, go ahead, Victor.
My other comments, this is pre-coffee, but anytime you go into a conversation, you have to define the terminology and just like Jamie did, and then ask the why questions. Why are we discussing this? Why is this important?
Okay, and I'm being sincere here. I absolutely agree. Defining one's terms, especially when you decide to like either modify existing definitions or you bring up some kind of abstract concept, always very important. Let's know what we're talking about before we move on. Thank you, Chicago Mike. It's spelled Raymond Luxury Yacht, but pronounced Throat Wobbler Mangrove. Okay. Is that a reference to something I'm just missing because I'm just, some ignoramus or something? If it is, and I just sort of, signed my own warrant on that, then so be it. But thank you, Chicago Mike. Appreciate it. I live in Omega, Georgia, but we pronounce it with a long E. Omega. Omega. Well, I just learned something, and learning something is great. Do I have something for that, don't I? I think I have something for that. I used to have something for that. I do. Knowing is a constant source of disappointment. I came up with that all on my lonesome. You want to put that? I should really put that on a t-shirt. Anyway, okay. Moving on.
And I struggle with this in the sense that I think there's a lot of confusion what DEI is about.
You ain't just whistling Dixie. I've been working on that one for nigh on 8 years now.
And often, not saying it's hijacked, but it's used for alternative purposes.
Oh, alternative purposes. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I take my definitions of DEI straight from the proverbial horse's mouth. That is, the advocates and the practitioners of DEI. So if I have any confusion, it's all your fault.
And I struggle with DEI in regards to when we do an RFP, we're looking for the best.
And why does DEI cause you to struggle when looking for the best? Is it because it's not a meritorious decision-making process?
We're not looking for, I mean, if there's a grant requirement, yes, there's certain requirements, but we want the best of the best. So,
you want the best of the best, and DEI makes that difficult because...
So I struggle with that. Yeah. And I'm part of a nationwide education group who does an annual survey of their members.
Survey of what?
And they find it's hard to put people in categories because they don't include that information in their survey. And the categories you are yearning to put them into include? I struggle at times where I want to indicate who I am, what my ethnic background is, because I don't want to be put in a box.
Wait. Hold on. Hold the fort. Back up. Just a smidge. Say that one again there. Was it Victor? Yeah, Victor. Tell me that one again.
I struggle at times where I want to indicate who I am, what my ethnic background is, because I don't want to be put in a box. You struggle with... You want... I'm confused now. Do you want to indicate what your ethnic background is because you don't want to be put in a box? Or are you asked to put in your ethnic background, but you don't want to be put in a box? Let's try that one more time. I struggle at times where I want to indicate who I am, what my ethnic background is, because I don't want to be put in a box. And
you struggle. Okay, I don't know which way he's putting that. Like he's being required to indicate his ethnicity, but he doesn't want to be put in a box, or he wants to indicate his ethnicity because he doesn't want to be put in a box. I'm confuzzled. I'm confuzzled is the riddle of the Sphinx over here. But also, we got a Datura Jones. Good evening. And apparently that was from Chicago Mike, that was a Monty Python reference, which I didn't catch because, I used to watch way back in the olden days. PBS would have marathons every year of various things. And the two that I always tried to watch were Monty Python and Red Dwarf. But I watched Red Dwarf more than I watched Monty Python. I know. I apologize. It was also Mystery with Jeremy Brett as Sherlock Holmes. The best Sherlock Holmes ever. I don't care what anybody says. Jeremy Brett was the best on-screen Sherlock Holmes. And so some of the more famous Monty Python things I get. If you get me the obscure ones, I might miss them. But anyway, so our speaker either does or does not want to indicate his ethnic background because he either does or does not want to be put into a box, I guess.
And that's my thought process. Anytime I'm looking forward towards a solicitation,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the solution. How
The solution, you mean the actual quality of the service being provided and not the appearance of the individual? Maybe?
That's my thought process. Anytime I'm looking forward towards a solicitation, I'm looking at the solution. How can you help me? Not who are you?
Yeah.
That part comes important.
No, you're not looking. No, not who are you? No, you want to look at the who. It's the who that matters. Apologies to Jimmy Page. It's the who that matters. Wait, is Jimmy Page Led Zeppelin? I don't know anything anymore. I'm not a rock guy. My sister is the musical person. Is Robert Plant? No, they were Led Zeppelin, right? Who is the who? Wait, what? I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Anyway, you want to know the who. You don't want to care about the what. It's the what that DEI concerns itself with, not the who. Somebody in the chat's going to just skin me alive for getting the bands and the singers wrong. I know, and I deserve it. I admit I deserve it.
As we move into a relationship. So in regards to a program where I work at, a DEI program, it's not really, it's kind of like on a back burner.
All right, Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey are the who. Sorry, yeah, okay. Jimmy Page, Robert Plant are the Led Zeppelin. I don't know. It's the P names and the whatever. I'm a terrible classic rock guy. Terrible classic rock. I grew up on grunge, Alice in Chains and Tool and some Dave Matthews thrown in there a little bit, just for the hell of it. Dave Matthews is in grunge, but same era. Anyway,
because we often think that we're not being inclusive when we reach out to anybody. Anybody has a chance to put in a solicitation.
Sure, anybody has a chance to put in a solicitation, but the solicitations you will entertain are filtered in a DEI context on the basis of what the person submitting it looks like.
And we're not cutting anybody out.
If you say you are adhering to a DEI philosophy, you are by requirement cutting people out and assessing them on characteristics that are not determinative of merit or the quality of the service. Unless you are going to completely disagree with Jamie's definition at the top of this show, then you are speaking nonsense.
For a chance to participate.
I did think of the example that I was scrabbling for there, Victor. It was Nevada and Nevada. So,
thank goodness you were focused on the important things of this conversation. I tell you.
If you get that wrong, you're tagged.
Yeah, Nevada. You go it's Nevada, and it's Nevada.
So now I know.
And knowing is a constant source of disappointment.
For years. Well, thanks for the input on that, Victor.
And you were really paying attention trying to remember Nevada.
And we're kind of just going around the room and letting everybody get some initial thoughts. Let's come to Kristen. Mm-hmm. Kristen, you're with a county, and how does your procurement shop connect to DEI, and how does it impact on a daily basis?
Somebody else in the chat who corrected me on certain things. Bostonia! Pete and Roger are in the who, yes. Tommy, can you see me? Yeah, I know a little bit. I know a little bit about a little thing. Also, Assassin of the Grey calls me a smeghead. Well, jeez. Rimmer!
The way that you're doing work.
Or, sorry, gazpacho soup!
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm with Shelby County government.
Shelby County government.
Right here in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
And first, I am enjoying the conversation and the perspectives because it really shows, I'll say, pun intended, the diversity of what's happening.
Oh, you used a pun.
Kind of on a widespread across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the county, I will say probably from a county and citywide, all the municipalities for at least about the last approximate 10 to 15 years have focused heavily on diversity and locally owned small businesses, minority women owned enterprises as well.
Okay, so Shelby County, Tennessee, for the last 15 years, in some way, shape, or form, has given preference to businesses based on the gender and race of their owners. Now, just take that completely out of the modern context and just think about it in its own little space and consider, does that sound, I don't know, historically repellent to anybody else?
And here at the county, we actually have ordinances that impact my daily governmental procurement work.
Oh, such as?
We are required at a certain threshold to only solicit to locally owned small businesses.
Okay, locally owned. Okay, well, location is not terrible. It's, by made in the USA and so on. Okay, so you have to stay a certain percentage within the local community. You said, one of the earlier speakers said that, that was something that you aim to do.
Where the availability exists. So not just if we have one locally owned small business that provides something, the competition still has to be there.
Sure. Yeah, you want to put some money back into the community and, foment jobs and such within the territory in which you sit.
But to a certain threshold, it's if they get the first bite at the apple.
Okay, fair enough.
Above that.
So if you weren't constrained by this ordinance, you'd send money outside of the county if you could?
Threshold, we do application of subcontract goals, again, based on availability of our local database that we have on available vendors.
Okay.
And that can, again, just apply to just locally owned small businesses. We have previously had minority and women-owned businesses, and it has currently been dismantled as we go through a new disparity study.
Ooh, a disparity study. It's been dismantled. What does that mean?
What I can appreciate about disparity studies is that they actually give you the statistical background to identify, is there a disparity? Has there been a disparity?
But I know I ask this all the time. Does a disparity inherently indicate an inequity? I have to wonder if our speaker isn't conjoining those two concepts together and simply saying, look, this number bigger than that number, therefore injustice.
And how can we move forward in trying to minimize that?
I think I might be correct.
And to reduce that disparity.
Well, what is the cause of said disparity? Or should I say, what are the causes of said disparity? Or are you assuming facts not in evidence and applying the God of the gaps theory to statistical analysis? I don't know why I asked that question. It's just a nervous twitch I have at this point, I suppose.
So it was interesting, Jamie. I loved your widening the supply base, promoting diversity.
Yeah, I love Jamie's completely inaccurate definition of what DEI does. It was great. Yeah, it makes you sound so much better than reality.
Creating that resilience and the agile supply chains. But I think for the county here, while all of those things are super true, and I wish that we would speak more to that, I think the heaviest piece that is driven the ordinances and the different regulations that we have is the disparity studies.
How do you mean?
Or the disparity that's been identified. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. But on a daily basis, I'm required by our ordinances, which is our law.
And are you sour about that? That you have to provide opportunities to local businesses first and foremost?
For me to apply those rules. And again, knowing that the procurement government space is for me to be fair and consistent across all vendor bases.
Fair and consistent with an eye towards?
So listening to you, Victor, I could appreciate your comments, specifically from just a government procurement base, and how do you intertwine that in a fair way?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you how you improve your fairness prospects in contracts and procurement. Get rid of DEI.
And so our ordinances that I've been a part here attempt to do that, and in supporting the locally owned small businesses. So.
Wait, what? Alice Morgan, we need that cookie recipe. Oh, the pumpkin chocolate chip cookie recipe. I'll tell you what. I'll make a note, and I will get Sister Scribe to give me the recipe, and I will post it into the Discord. Probably tomorrow, because I don't have it with me right now. Probably, yeah. She made a fresh batch this evening, right before I left. She cooked them up and baked them, and I got a little box full of pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. And I mean, pumpkin's not usually my first go-to as a flavor in things, but in this instance, it tastes a lot like gingerbread. That was my first thought. It tasted, the way she made them, it tasted a lot like gingerbread. So it didn't really, like one time I went to a Halloween party. And it was with some friends who were actual witches. And one of the dishes made was pumpkin soup. And it was kind of gritty, not very appetizing. I mean, maybe with some proper spices or something, you could pretend it was something else. But I wouldn't recommend it. But in this case, did Scribe just drop? Did I drop? Have I lost the show? Can you hear me? You make me paranoid now. After 4 days of outages and internet troubles and everything else. Anybody? Okay, or maybe Mike R is just screwing with me. Yeah, you might know. I'm on tenterhooks, guys. Is everything okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Phil Thomas. Good evening. And Best Remy, did I say still here? Still here? Okay, still here. All right. Anyway, yes, I will get I put a link to the Discord server in the chat just then. So if you'd like to join the Discord server, you haven't already joined the Discord server, just click on that link, and on the landing channel called Say Hello, just say, hello, procurement. That's a secret word for this show. Procurement. Just say hello, procurement, and I know that you watch the show. And as soon as I get the recipe from Sister Scribe, I will pass it along into the Discord.
I've enjoyed everybody's comments thus far and looking forward to the rest.
I've enjoyed everybody's comments thus far, too. They're very, very enlightening on what seems to be mostly either public servants or people dealing with public-funded services, telling us all about how they really, really, really want to be discriminatory in their decision-making.
Thanks. So, David, you're the former procurement officer for Pennsylvania, and then you currently help procurement shops to be able to find and identify vendors through some portal means. So how do you consider the topic of DEI programs and public procurement and how they touch each other and can improve each other's mission?
Oh, they love touching each other, I tell you what. Hi-oh. Okay, but yes, a new speaker. Oh, boy.
As I told Dustin, I've been off of Clubhouse for like 3 months until I saw your post, so I'm trying to get back in the swing of things.
I don't know what Clubhouse is, but I can understand getting back in the swing of things, as my recent experiences might have said. Shiro Omada! One is meant to carve and display, the other is sweet for meant for pies. I'm assuming you're talking about pumpkins. If not, I do not wish to be a character witness at your trial.
So I have two quick observations, and then I could talk a little bit later about what we're doing. But
okay.
The first is, back when I was in procurement, I think there was a misperception, which I think is still true today, that choosing to work with minority or women-owned companies comes at a cost.
Well, it does come at a cost. It comes at a cost of not only your personal integrity and, at least in spirit, adherence to the laws of this country, but it also means you are decidedly siphoning off potential competitors on the basis of race and or gender. That's the cost. It is a cost of competition. There's no two ways about it. So if you don't think it comes at a cost, you say it's a myth. All right. Proceed, theoretical Jamie and Adam.
Both either a cost in terms of the quality of the service that you're going to get compared to a big multinational, or comes at the cost of cost. It's more expensive to do it.
I could see both being the case, but you're not talking about the size of a company. A big multinational. Well, no, you didn't talk about the size of a company. You talked about the ownership of the company. Race and gender. You're not going to dodge that in trying to disprove this myth, are you?
And I think they're deep-rooted beliefs, but I think they're actually not true.
Oh, okay. So tell me, again, just so we're clear, when looking for contracting or offering bidding or whatever the heck else to a business, a supplier in a public procurement context, if your first filter as to who you want to work with is one or both of gender and race, how you are not inherently reducing competition and excluding potentially better performing operators. Go ahead.
And one thing that was interesting back in our day in Pennsylvania, as Dustin knows, we had a very aggressive strategic sourcing initiative that saved us $140 million.
How do you calculate that?
And the consultant we hired at the time, who was not Civic, this is pre-Civic, told us that you couldn't save money and expand opportunities for diverse businesses at the same time, that they were mutually exclusive.
You couldn't save money and expand. Okay, so diverse always means more expensive? What?
But at the same time that we saved all that money, we actually were able to quadruple our minority and women business participation rate. So I think.
Okay, so. But how do you know you wouldn't have gotten better results at more competitive prices if you didn't exclude businesses on the basis of the race or gender of their ownership? See, this is the thing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You say you saved $114 million or whatever, as compared to what alternative? And just because you paid less, did you get a better result? And how would you know that?
I think that was sort of my first big takeaway, is that don't let people tell you that a diversity initiative is going to cost you more money. No. Don't let people tell you that. Just let every major corporation that has been slashing their DEI budgets for the last 5 years. No, don't let anybody tell you. Don't even tell you that's a waste of money. No. Really, guys, really. Just keep paying for it. It'll pay off eventually. I swears. It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to, but it very well might. Is that what you're trying to say?
Don't let people tell you that a diversity initiative is going to cost you more money. It doesn't have to.
No, you're right. It doesn't have to. You can spend practically nothing and say you have a DEI program just for the sake of window dressing, which is probably going to save you more in the long run than if you actually were doing window dressing and the cost for that. Okay. Boy, this guy's a great salesman.
My second observation, going to what Jamie said, which I thought was super interesting, around trying to build first a main and then sort of a regional network of diverse businesses, is I really do think there's an opportunity for jurisdictions to share learnings and share suppliers here.
Sure, everybody can share the wealth of discrimination and business practices if you really want to, yeah. You know, I mean, one county can use they can be sort of like the front runner they can use their discriminatory practices to select a particular supplier and then recommend that same supplier to another county so they don't have to do the due diligence, if you want to call it that, the first county did. And then, it just gets kind of passed on and the responsibility gets diluted over time as to who made the decision in the first place. Yeah, no, I could see that. Yeah, sure.
And quickly to Google Maps, and I saw that from Boston, my hometown, to the other 5 New England state capitals, the distances from Boston to those capitals are 160 miles, 51 miles, 67, 100, and 180.
Are we headed into like story problem math time? Like if you're on a train traveling from Boston to blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes, and?
So there's a great opportunity just within one part of the country to find and cultivate and rate great diverse businesses.
Why add diverse? Why not just have great? Who cares what they look like? You guys keep adding that element for reasons that make no sense. What is your goal in delineating great by then the appearance of the ownership? What is it you think you are accomplishing? What good do you think you are doing? I mean, I keep hearing them talk about it, but at the core of it, it's like, okay, but why? They said earlier, it's like, define your terms, then ask why. Yeah, well, I'm asking why. Try bud dry. But no, why is it important to you? I mean, I can probably answer the question in some sort of like, grandiose, self-serving way, but I would love to know from our speakers, why in their minds is it important to discriminate on the basis of these elements when it comes to opportunities in supply chain?
And then to share knowledge about those great companies between states, between cities and counties.
Those great diverse companies. Don't forget the important element here. Great really is a secondary consideration at best.
So that everyone can work with great minority or women-owned or LGBTQ-owned companies.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm glad you say it so plainly. Okay. And how many of those elements are legal, or at least, the appearance of legality, to discriminate business practices on under American law? The Department of Transportation is only just now learning this lesson in a story that I looked at a few weeks back, is that it's starting to fall apart, giving contracts or setting funding aside specifically to businesses on the basis of the look of the person running them.
Thank you, David. So joining us this morning also is Derek Davis, who's on my team.
Oh, okay.
So Derek is running that one project we're doing for a state client where we're helping them take the outputs of a disparity study and help to create the right kind of infrastructure within the procurement shop.
I love how these guys are holding up disparity studies as their justification for their efforts. I'm glad that they're so open with what they actually are. A disparity study. You know what a disparity study? You want to hear one of the most famous disparity studies? The wage gap. Right? The wage gap. Oh, men earn more over the course of a year working full-time than women who work full-time over that same year. That's a disparity study. Obviously sexism. So they are using the equivalent of the wage gap theory in justifying their decisions when it comes to procurement and supply chain. And this is happening in 2024.
To make that possible, to be able to drive that kind of outcome that's contemplated in that study.
Right. The disparity study tells you, oh, this number's smaller than that number, therefore give more business to smaller number, because obviously injustice.
So, Derek, are you you on and able to come off mic and talk a little bit about the kind of topics that we're looking at, and maybe pose a question if you have one?
Yeah, please, Derek. I'm dying to know.
One of the things that is really interesting in this particular space is just how much differentiation we have across all the different entities at all the different levels. Just listening to you all talk, everybody.
Really? There's a lot of differentiation. Are you just talking about like in what realm they operate? Because they're all unified by one thing in this context. That is a rampant need to discriminate.
Everybody's got a slightly different approach, a slightly different method.
So
it's very interesting when you're trying to build the program from the ground up. Which of those works really well? So I'd be curious to hear. I mean, I think the one question I would love to hear from this group is where have you done something that you feel has had a extremely positive impact?
Oh, Derek is asking for an active example. Oh, goody. Yeah, tell me a success story. We've talked about theory for the last nigh on 18 minutes. Tell me a success story from each speaker. Tell me a specific success story where you took action or implemented a policy or whatever else, and it led to your desired outcome, or conversely, a failure that you learned from. Oh, please.
On a program like this, or even just in general to how you're engaging the community of vendors in this space.
Yeah.
In doing the research and kind of talking to other folks, I think the 2 points that I would bring up is in creating a DEI program.
Yes.
It can't be a reactive process.
It can't be a reactive process. But DEI is inherently reactive. It's because there is some suspicion, I don't know, based on a disparity didn't you just say you guys are fueled by disparity studies to inform you or give you some kind of official backing as to what you do in order to make things right with the world? Okay, but it can't be a reactive process. Okay, so what is it?
Right, you can't just all of a sudden go out there and say, I'm going to give a preference to this categorized vendor or this categorized vendor.
Why not? It seems like everybody is.
Right, because that doesn't work. It needs to be a carefully thought out program, and it needs to apply to the particular marketplace that you are trying.
Oh, wait. You're making market considerations? I didn't hear anything about market considerations earlier. All I heard about was we need to tailor make the supply chain based on ethnicity, gender, and orientation. Oh, and also, veteran status, maybe disability. What do you mean analyzing the market? You can't just go hiring people on the basis of what demographic they fall into. No, of course you can't do that. You have to analyze the market first. Okay, well, tell me, and tell me true. What market forces justify racial, gender, and orientation discrimination in your decision-making process?
Categorized vendor or this categorized vendor, right? Because that doesn't work. It needs to be a carefully thought out program, and it needs to apply to the particular marketplace that you are trying to address.
Okay, well, you guys are in public procurement. So I assume that involves procuring things for the public writ large. So unless you're talking about something else, what particular market are you aiming for here?
And then secondarily, we've talked a lot about how underrepresented or underserved vendors get contracts. But just because the dotted line has been signed does not mean that these vendors know necessarily what to do thereafter.
Well, then maybe they shouldn't be in the business of being a vendor. Okay. Now, I am legitimately bewildered. Because here's the thing. If I am a business, whatever, vendor, contractor, whatever, and I am going for someone else's business, I have put up, thrown my hat in the ring to get the business of a state, a county, a city, whatever. If I sign on the dotted line to perform certain tasks in exchange for pay, if I don't know what I'm supposed to do after that, well, either the contract has been very vaguely written, or I'm incompetent and I should probably not have been considered in a due diligence process prior to signing on the dotted line. Or am I missing something? What? Wait up. Okay, I'm going to back up. I'm going to give her... Let's listen to some of that just a little bit more. One more time.
Line does not...
Oh, let me... Sorry, I didn't go back far enough here. Let's try this.
Or underserved vendors get contracts, but just because the dotted line has been signed does not mean that these vendors know necessarily what to do thereafter. So the process is an iterative process that needs to continue throughout the duration of the contract.
Okay, that first part makes absolutely no sense to me. They've signed the contract. They've signed to fulfill a business agreement by providing services, material, whatever, in exchange for money. If they don't understand what they're supposed to do after that, what do you mean? What are you talking about? They need to be handheld through doing the job they said they would do in the business that they are in? Or is this some sort of, soft bigotry of low expectations things? It's like, well, if you hire somebody who's a minority, they probably need some help. What are you talking about?
Great that they get the contract and they, being defined as whatever the vendor is for that particular program, but
what?
It's a partnership.
Well, I mean, to a degree, but you are supposedly wearing your big boy pants at that point if you've signed the contract and the person handing you the contract is willing to give you money for the promised service. So what are you talking about? Give us an example, even if it's an abstract example. What do you mean?
Right, to help educate vendors who are underrepresented or underserved.
Wait a second. Why? If I'm paying you to perform a service or to supply material, why is it my responsibility to educate them on how to do the job they're being paid for? If they're not experienced enough to know what they are doing after they've signed the contract, well, I guess buyer beware. Am I hearing this correctly? Like, I have to provide some sort of condescending charity service of education to a business because I chose them on the basis of their demographic? What?
Great that they get the contract and they, being defined as whatever the vendor is for that particular program.
Being defined as whatever the vendor is for that particular program. Are you talking about demographic?
But it's a partnership, to help educate vendors who are underrepresented or underserved. And it's also helping them to continue to not only perform, but to meet all of the requirements, performance measures, performance metrics, etc.
Wait. And again, I only have implication here. Do you mean to imply that if I am someone who is promoting a DEI philosophy in vendor contracting, if I choose, of my own accord, to discriminate in vendors on the basis of their demographic, it is not a I'm paying you to do a service scenario. It is an apprenticeship program. I am there to handhold them through the entire process stem to stern because obviously they need the help, because obviously as an underrepresented or underserved group, they can't possibly be expected to know what to do without my guidance? What? Again, is that too grandiose a interpretation of what she just said? I don't think so. I'd love to hear her get more specific.
Throughout the contract.
Let me back up a little bit. That is so bizarre to me. I think I backed up too much. Okay, we might go over trodden ground again, but I think it'll be worth it for the repetition.
Particular program, but it's a partnership, right? To help educate vendors who are underrepresented or underserved. And it's also helping them to continue to not only perform, but to meet all of the requirements, performance measures, performance metrics, etc.
Well, I guess how much, micromanaging do I have to do over the vendor that I've paid to do the service? And obviously there have to be some benchmarks and there have to be some checks and balances and so on. But shouldn't they already be capable of meeting these marks that they've agreed to by signing the contract? Or do I need to look over their shoulder because they're from an underserved or underrepresented group?
Throughout the contract. So again, it's really thinking from a full acquiring a contract throughout the duration of the contract all the way to contract closing, that a DEI program will be successful.
Okay, so I have to take a condescending, untrusting view on anyone I give a contract to under a DEI rubric, because obviously they can't do it on their own. Is that too cynical a takeaway from this? And I ask sincerely, if that is too cynical a takeaway, or if anybody in the chat or listens to this in the future has more experience with public procurement or contracts and DEI spheres and things, and I'm assuming somebody out there does, by all means correct me. What is she talking about, if not that?
Wholeheartedly agree with you, Jamie.
You do? Well, that's not comforting.
My lessons learned are kind of around some of what Jamie just mentioned. I think for any of the programs that you choose to implement or execute, it has to be supported in data.
Supported in data? You mean these disparity reports?
So when I specifically think about the MWBE space and having those really good comprehensive disparity studies.
I'm loving these disparity studies. They're confessing to looking for the problem they already believe exists and just having something behind them to justify their actions. It's all very McKinsey study, if you think about it.
It's done to actually define where you create those categories and how you decide to move forward to create the application of the subcontract goals is really key.
You mean set racial and or gender and or orientation quotas, you mean?
And once you have that data and you execute, I think it's important to make sure that you understand the true availability of those businesses when you are looking to apply goals and not putting false or not as accurate goal on a project to where it won't be successful. If nothing else, no one may meet the requirements and you end up having to do a rebid.
Okay. And how does a DEI program mitigate those problems, if at all?
Or again, just not being able to successfully meet that goal because it wasn't a true goal to put there. And then
what? Oh my God! Stop talking in absence. The guy basically asked you for a specific example in your own realm of what you did to make something work when it comes to DEI. He asked for specific examples. We haven't gotten any. But in trying to answer his question, you're still revealing quite a bit, honestly.
Then to your point, Jamie, the contract administration piece is extremely key. The contract compliance piece is extremely key in making sure you are, being aligned with any laws and regulations.
Yes. Okay. And again, I am a novice at all this, but certainly if I am the one issuing the contract, of course there are going to be check-ins and benchmarks and accountability for if you agree to provide this service for this money, we expect these things to happen within these deadlines and so on and so forth. And so obviously we'll be overseeing the completion of these benchmarks or the completion of the contract. Yes, there has to be some oversight. I'm not saying there doesn't have to be any or there shouldn't be any. But the way that Jamie was describing it earlier, it sounded so hand-holdy. It sounded so, well, obviously you have to help them through what they're doing in a way that doesn't mean oversight. It means, babysitting. That's the way that I took it, anyway. That's the way it sounded to me.
Aligned with the outcome and implementation of the disparity study. And you want to make sure all of that is sound so you're not diminishing the trust of the public. I think that's the...
You want to make sure your disparity study is sound. Well, again, if all you're looking for is differentials between things, then I guess if the only goal is to find a disparity, then the logic is sound. How you then choose to leverage that disparity into justifying your questionable discriminatory actions, that's on you. It doesn't give you a license, except the one that you make up in your own imagination.
The other key piece that we've had to make sure that we pay attention to the application of our programs and that they're done in a way that helps vendors continue to even want to work with us and trust the process.
In what way do you have to earn their trust?
One area that I have seen success in the application of our previous MWBE program was in the construction space.
Okay.
Where there were vendors who typically would not have been prime contractors.
Why? Why would they not have been prime contractors?
For particular projects, and the growth and the way that they were able to scale up through our programs has been effective for those businesses and ultimately the community.
Of course, she's not going to get more specific than that. Like, why would they have not been previously considered for these projects or whatever? What was the differential? What was the barrier? How did your program overcome that? It's such a tease. It's like I keep thinking they're going to give me something I can think about, something I can sink my teeth into, and then it's always kind of wishy-washy couched language and then moving on without any kind of specifics. Okay.
So my lessons learned would be having sound data for execution.
Having disparity studies that, give you confirmation bias.
And the contract compliance piece.
Yeah.
And then the success. And I didn't have a specific story, but I have just seen that growth in that space.
Wait a minute. You don't have, why don't you have a specific story? You just told us earlier that Shelby County, Tennessee has been integrating diversity into its programs for 15 years. In the course of 15 years, you don't have a single specific example or anecdote you can provide which demonstrates the thing that you're so proud of? Why not? I'm going to let her finish her statement, and then I think I'm going to wrap this up because we're coming up on the magical 90-minute mark, and I have a Sunday stream to plan for.
Of construction because of the programs that have been implemented.
Okay, well, we're just going to stop there. We're going to stop there at the 22-minute 09 mark. If there is some, overriding reason that you guys would want me to continue with the Public Procurement Change Agents special, let me know either in the comments, the chat, or on the Discord. Speaking of which, if I didn't already tell you, I have a Discord server. If you'd like to join the Discord server, well, let me give you the link to the Discord server. It's in the chat right now. Click on that link. Find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word today is procurement. Say hello, procurement. And I'll know that you watched the stream. I'm very happy to have had this time with you this evening, especially after the last 3 some odd nights where I've been cold, alone, powerless, and voiceless, as it were. Also, Red Feather, good evening. Dexter's Killer Lab, good evening. Anybody else I missed that I can see within the short jump here? Faithless, good evening. And I think that's everybody. If I missed you, I apologize. Keeverdam, thank you so much. Good stream. Glad you're back. Well, thank you, Keeverdam. I'm glad to be back. Very happy to be back. I'm glad to join you guys for a little bit of distraction on a Saturday. We will have a Sunday stream tomorrow morning. The thing is, I've been so disconnected, I don't even know what stories have happened in the last 3 or 4 days. So I probably missed out on a whole bunch of really interesting stuff. So hopefully I'm not going to be overlapping with things you already know. Or at least know completely. But I'll have to learn something tomorrow too. But yeah, if you would, for some reason, like me to continue with the Public Procurement Change Agents podcast, let me know in the comments. Let me know on the Discord. And I will see what I can do in a future ambush stream. As I apparently am trying to talk like William Shatner or something tonight. Delverfruit Zero, good evening. And Resolute Germ, good evening. Oh, damn, I missed it. Well, you only missed most of it because you're here for the ending. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the GoFundMes and fundraisers at the top of the chat box, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciated. Yes, and thank you especially everybody who hung out with me tonight in my return after 4 cold nights alone. It's nice to be back. There will be a Sunday stream tomorrow morning. I may not have the link up until tomorrow morning because, admittedly, I'm a little tired and I think I should probably go to bed and get some sleep and get some rest. A lot of stuff to do tomorrow, both in terms of YouTube and also real life stuff. And as soon as I can get that recipe for the pumpkin chocolate chip cookies from Sister Scribe, I will post that to the Discord server and make sure everybody gets a shot at that. Beyond that, yes, so tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, the Sunday stream, where we'll go over some interesting news stories of the week, most of which I have no idea about. I'll have to find out about them as we go. And also, I may do something this week to make up for the missing TED Excellence that didn't happen this week because of our stuff. So there may be 2 TED Excellences this week as a thank you and an apology to everybody for keeping the lights on while I was gone. So I will look into that, maybe a Tuesday, and then we'll have a Wednesday off, and then a Thursday. We'll see. Beyond that, everybody, hope you have a good rest of your Saturday. Hope wherever you are, you have power, you are warm, you are well taken care of. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.